All right, it is 6:05, and so we're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar. Thank you for joining us for Stronger Together, our webinar on university housing. My name is Scott Patton. I'm the Director of Housing here at Northern Kentucky University, and I'll let my colleague introduce himself.
Good evening. I hope you all are doing well. My name is Dr. Tim Layson, and I serve as our Associate Director of University Housing Operations.
And so we were sort of just creating an opportunity for people to come and join us and sort of get some information and ask questions. So we're here and we're available. We've been spending some time at orientation, just sort of talking with people about the benefits of housing and things like that. If you haven't attended orientation, or if your sons, daughters, or students haven't attended orientation yet, we can share some of that information. But we'll kind of start off with, what questions do you all have for us? How can we help you?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
But you can only see my picture, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good.
And it's a lovely picture.
Oh, why, thank you. So my son, who I don't think he's on. I think he's trying to get on, but for some reason I don't see him, even though he asked me for the information. But my son was accepted into NKU, and that was probably about 2 weeks ago. It was kind of a late decision. He just decided not to go back to his the university that he came from, and we thought that NKU would be a good fit. I'm a UC alum, but I still really thought that NKU would be a better fit for him in terms of the size and you know what I've been hearing about campus life. And so the question is, we wanted a single for him, a single room. He is a transfer, not a freshman. So I don't know if they have like transfer dorm, like freshman dorms, and then all other years. But is it a waiting list? Because my understanding is that he can't get a single because the singles are all booked or whatever. So is there a waiting list, and can we add them to the wait list? So, and what's the alternative? I mean, he's had the roommate situation 2 years in a row. Didn't have the best experiences from roommates. We're over it. We want him to have the campus life, but not have the campus thing. Somebody said we can answer this question after.
Oh yeah, that was just that was for a question in the chat. So keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So is there a wait list? If so, would you please add him onto the wait list? And can you, is there a contact that I can talk to about alternate methods so that I don't use up the time for this call?
Sure, of course. So I can answer a lot of what you shared. So we do have a transfer student community, and our transfer student community is in Callahan Hall, and that community is with other transfer students from other universities, as well as we have a partnership with the Gateway Community College program, where some of those students that are attending in Gateway Community College who then ultimately transfer into NKU also. So it's a great opportunity for some upper class students who have some unique needs that are not the same as first-time freshman needs, but still first-year students at the university, but are not true freshmen, that we can offer support and offer them connection to resources that is probably really valuable generally to transfer students. Some additional information is that NKU only has a handful of single occupancy spaces for any student at any year. And when we're talking about true single occupancy spaces, we only have 8. And we have other singles that exist where students have their own bedroom, but they still share a suite with 3 other people. And even all of those spaces are full. So we have quite a few of those, but a true single, we only have about 8 of those. And so those are scooped up really quickly and really early in our process. The rest of our spaces are all doubles. We do have an option for people, and we still have this option available for anybody that wants to buy out the other half of a double occupancy space. So they can buy out the other bed space and not get assigned a roommate. We have quite a few of those options left for this upcoming fall. We always set aside a set number of those, and we've utilized about half of those at this point in time. And
So
so
we would pay like whatever it
It's a-
costs for one half, you just pay that twice. Woof.
not quite. So we do make it a deal. So you would pay the space for your bed and then 50% of the other bed. So it's about 1.5 times that rate per semester, which is still eligible to be supported with financial aid. So I don't know what the financial aid situation is, but we would apply that rate if your son wanted that option. We would apply that rate to his bill, and then that would increase his cost of attendance, which would likely increase his financial aid as well. But I can't really officially say that as I'm not a financial aid professional. So I don't know the ins and outs of his financial circumstance or your family's financial circumstance and what financial aid he qualifies for. But we usually see that students who qualify for financial aid would also be eligible to receive some additional funding because their cost of attendance is increased by that as well. And so that would be a choice. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put my email address in the chat. So if you have some questions and have some conversation with your son and see if that's an option for you, you're welcome to reach out and we can help coordinate that. And Dr. Layson is also completely capable of that as well. He's actually the person who manages all the buyouts, so he might actually be better suited to reach out than me.
I'll put my email. I'll put my email address in there, Scott, if you want to put it in there for me. I was just actually about to message DJ, just to ask a question about this. So DJ, I'll be privately chatting you here in a second.
Okay.
DJ sent you a message because someone did tell us about that. I just wanted to just hear it officially from someone from housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so you'll send DJ the cost and I would prefer a copied email because DJ doesn't have any money. I do. I don't have any money either, but we can make it work.
If DJ, either you or DJ just want to send me an email, I just put my address in there, and then we can pick up the communication from there for the buyout to get you like exact numbers. Because it also depends on the room space and how much it's going to cost for the buyout.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and good questions. Thanks for asking. So we'll go back to the question that's in the chat, wondering when move-in day is and how move-in day works. So we'll be sending out information about move-in day in the next couple of weeks. And essentially a brief synopsis is that move-in day is August 18th. It's a Thursday. And it goes from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night for the actual move-in process. Each student will have the opportunity to sign up for their own particular move-in appointment time. So when we will send out an email saying the move-in appointment time slots are open to register. And then everybody can sort of talk with their family and friends and who's going to help join them on move-in day. And they can pick a time that best suits them. And each time slot is about 15 minutes. And we will have a whole process here for people to sort of go through move-in. The nice thing is that we know that it's really hot in Northern Kentucky, in the greater Cincinnati area. So we're going to keep you sitting in your car and hopefully in the comfort of your air conditioning up until the point where we have you move to an unloading zone where we will help you unload your vehicle and take all of your things up to your room for you. And then we'll have you park in long-term parking, and then your move-in stuff is just focused on getting set up and settled in your room. So hopefully, even though there might be some waiting involved, and we're trying to minimize that as much as possible by having people sign up for check-in appointment times, hopefully it'll be a relatively smooth and seamless process where you get to just enjoy it and get settled and enjoy the time with your family. Okay, any other questions?
Lori, did you have a follow-up question? I see your hand is raised.
Yes. The other question I wanted to ask is room and board, how does it work? Basically room and food. Is that combined together, the food plans, or is that separate at NKU? Like,
It's
do you
two
combine
separate,
the two together?
it's two separate bills, but if you live on campus, you are required to have a meal plan. So you will see two different charges on the student account, but they sort of go hand in hand because none of our spaces have kitchens in them. So students can't prepare their own food. So we do require students who live on campus to have a meal plan.
Are the meal plans optional? You
Nope,
know, like, I mean,
it's a
I'm sorry, in terms of the levels,
yes.
like 3 meals and snack plan, 2 meals and a snack plan.
Sort of. There's 4 different meal plan options. And Tim, if you wouldn't mind putting the link in the chat, we'll send that link to you directly so you can scope out which meal plan best suits your son. And then you all can select that in the housing portal where he applied for housing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And just to go over those for you, there's the 4 different selections are there's the ultimate plan, which is unlimited swipes. You can swipe into the dining hall as many times as you want. And then there's $100 of flex. The flex is sort of like a debit card with a decreasing balance where they can go and spend that money anywhere on campus, whether it's the bookstore or Starbucks, or if they want to eat at the at Einstein Bagels, for example, in the library, they can use that anywhere. The other option, which is the most popular, is the 225 block plan. That's 225 meals for the whole semester, and that block plan has $200 of flex. That averages out about to 14 meals a week, give or take. So that's a pretty popular meal plan, simply because most students don't eat breakfast when they're in college. They usually eat lunch and dinner. So the 14 meals a week pretty much evens out. The other 2 meal plans are an 8 meals a week plan with $500 of flex and 5 meals a week plan with $700 of flex. And they're all at different price points. All right. Any other questions for us this evening? Oh, is move in easiest if we box everything up or bring in bags? So we prefer that you unbox as much as possible. Move-in day is a very, it's a busy day and we go through a lot of trash. So we encourage everyone to unbox their items and recycle or throw away any of that waste prior to coming, because we see a lot of trash on the day. So it just sort of helps everybody with the process and make it as smooth as possible if folks do that. We do encourage people that if they unbox things, to put things in Rubbermaid bins, etc. Those will fit really nicely in some of our move in and move out carts. And if anybody, if any one of our volunteers needs to carry things upstairs, it's a lot easier to carry things upstairs when it's in sort of a tote, or if it's in a Rubbermaid bin, than if it's, you just have your coffee maker in hand outside of a box. So that's a really great question. Thank you for asking that. Other universities suggest a carbon monoxide detector in dorms. Is that necessary at NKU? Our residence halls are meet the carbon monoxide safety standard for the state. And so it's not absolutely necessary. However, if that's something that would provide some additional assurance for you and your family, you're absolutely welcome to bring one. Daryl, I saw you unmute. Do you have a question?
Oh, yeah. I have a question about, so at my old school that I went to, there was a housing, housing account. So for all the housing information is on your account. So that's the same thing for Northern Kentucky University, right?
Yep. So you have a housing portal. You can access your housing portal by going to our website. And I think Tim will add it to the chat because I keep volunteering him for that. And if you just click on apply for fall 2022, it will take you directly to your housing portal. You'll log in with your NKU credentials, and then you'll be able to navigate the housing portal. In the housing portal, that's where you can fill out your housing application, or you can fill out a housing exemption. You can select your meal plan. You can see who your roommates are. You can do all of those things through there. And then if there's anything that you're feeling as though it's not as simple and easy to find, because sometimes the housing portal can be a little bit tricky, and we're working on making that better, but you can certainly reach out to our housing department and we can help you navigate anything that you might be having challenges with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And as we're just sort of letting staff or folks, participants, process some other questions that they might have, I'll just simply share that our staff is really excited about new incoming students for this upcoming fall. We've been working really hard and preparing for new incoming folks for the fall. Our buildings are continuously getting ready to welcome new people, and we're really excited to meet new students who we can continue to help achieve their academic goals. Our staff is really dedicated to that. We care a lot about our students and invest in them in so many different ways and help them be truly successful students here at NKU. So for parents, just know you're leaving your students in good hands with us.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah.
So we have community bathrooms, or do we share, or do we each get our own bathrooms?
That depends on the community that you're in. So if you are an upper class student, your housing options are a little bit different than first year students, which is also a little bit different than transfer students. So we have unique communities for all of our populations. Some of our residence halls do have community baths. Those are predominantly for first year students. We do have one community that is upper class and first years, and that's also where our transfer student community is. And that community, that building has community baths, but not every floor in that building does. There's only, I think, 3 floors in that on a couple wings that have community bathrooms in that building. And there are 6 wings in that building with 3 floors each. So it's a pretty robust building. So the majority of the spaces in that building also have their own bathrooms in each individual room or suite. The majority of our spaces do have bathrooms within a suite where you're sharing that with one other person or 3 other people.
Do you have community bathrooms or, I mean, I'm sorry, that's not what I was about to say. Do you have, for, say if we wanted to do the dorm and a half purchase or rent option or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
are those community bathrooms or did you get like it's attached to a suite? Like, I don't,
It's sort of whatever is available.
okay.
So it depends on what building your son would choose to live in, or what we would assign him to live in, or what he prefers to live in. And then in that building, if that happens to be a space that they only have community bathrooms, then that would be true for him. But if it was a space where he didn't, then that would be, he would just buy out the space and then he might have his own bathroom, or he might buy out the space and be sharing, he might have his own bedroom, but share the bathroom with just 2 other people instead of 3.
And so with buying out the whole bedroom is a possibility? If it's a
Mhm.
double room, okay.
Yep. And we don't necessarily offer buying out the whole space for quads. One, that would be really expensive. And 2, 2 people could go into a quad and both of them buy out of their bed space. So they could turn a quad into a double if they wanted to, if 2 people were interested in doing that. But we really only do buyouts for like the other half of a 2-bedroom space in general. We only let people buy out 1 bed space. Jonathan
Okay.
Gutierrez in the chat says, what are things that are not allowed in dorm rooms? So we have a whole list of prohibited items. There's a lot of things to be considered here. We don't allow weapons. We don't allow fire safety things. So like gasoline, combustible engines, fireworks. There's lots of things sort of in that category that could be a fire hazard or a fire risk. We don't allow, we're a tobacco-free campus. Our residence halls are also dry, so we don't allow alcohol in campus. And then we also don't allow things like water beds or things that will have the potential to cause a robust amount of damage. But aside from that, as long as it's not creating a fire hazard, as long as it's not creating a safety hazard for other folks in the building or permanent damage to the building, we're pretty open. And Jake, thank you for posting the full list. I would say a general mindset is that anything that creates a red hot exposed heating element, like a toaster, is usually not allowed. But you could do something like a George Foreman grill, and that would be fine. And then generally speaking, if you have things that are UL approved, which is Underwriter Laboratories, or something similar, which is a research organization that creates products or validates that products are safe. Usually if something has a silver UL approved tag on it, those things are acceptable in residence halls. And if you have a question about something specific, you're welcome to email me or email Tim, and we can give a more specific answer on that particular item. Pets aren't allowed except for fish tanks of, I think, 10 gallons or less. And they have to be fish. You can't get a fish tank and put a tarantula in it. That's prohibited. Or a snake. That's prohibited. But you can have fish. You can have fish in a 10-gallon tank or less. That's the only pet that's allowed.
is there a housing deposit?
There is not.
Awesome.
We did away with that this year. We didn't think that it really made that much of a difference for people. So we said, let's get rid of it. Any other questions? Great question in the chat is, will you be sending out a list of what is needed for the dorms? And yes, we won't have an exclusive list, but we will give a general guideline of things that you might want to consider. And in some of that, we will also provide some connections to some of our vendors that you might want to utilize. So some students choose that they want to loft their bed, and we have a partnership with a lofting company, or they might want to rent a fridge, a mini fridge, instead of buying one, and we can get people connected to a rental program for a micro fridge, things like that. So payments for housing will all get applied to your bill, will get applied to your student bill, and it'll get paid just like tuition. So if you have scholarships, your scholarships will first get applied to your tuition and any academic charges to your account. And then after that, if you have additional scholarship money, it'll get applied to your housing bill. So there are some students who get specific housing scholarships, and those scholarships can only be applied to housing or meal plans. And there's some students who get just academic scholarships. But then there's other students who have scholarships that cover their tuition, and it might cover a portion of their housing. So if there's no specifications in that, it'll get applied to your tuition first, and then it'll get applied to your housing fees, and then you just sort of pay the difference. There's some students who also get additional aid through grants or student loans that usually cover a significant portion, if not all, of their tuition and bill. The best people to sort of reach out to about that is student financial assistance. So
You want me to, you want me
go
to
ahead,
answer this?
Tim. Yeah, you can tackle this one.
So we work with a bed lofting vendor, and we'll be sending out information within some of our moving communications in the next couple of weeks, where you can access like their web portal to do a request for the bed lofting kit. So they'll come in, do the bed lofting kit, and they'll assemble it all for you and attach it along with the current bed that's there in the room in order to like meet your height specifications and all that kind of good stuff. And so, and our vendor, our vendor is really great, and he's been real, and our students have been really happy when they do the bed lofting kit. So they are more than happy to make any accommodations for the bed lofting. The only building that we don't do bed lofting in, just as an FYI, is the new residence hall, based on the beds that we already have in the space. But every other community, you can request a bed loft. And so that'll be in the information. It's also on our website. And I'll put the link here in the chat in a second for them, but it's also on our website if you ever want to go visit them.
The beds in the new hall are already pretty adjustable at a pretty high height, which is why we don't allow or don't offer bed lofting services for that building. So they are a sort of charcoal gray matte metal finish, and they're pretty sturdy. They're really, really nice. There are spaces on them for cell phone charging and other things. and they're a typical sort of residence hall style of bed. There is plenty of room for storage under the beds in the new residence hall, as well as any of our other buildings. So you can adjust the height of the beds yourself on move-in day. Or if you don't want to do it on move-in day, it's not the right time for you, our staff can also assist and help with that on move-in day or after move-in day. And so you can have the bed as low as you want or as high as you want. And most of our beds can be adjusted up to maybe about chest height, whereas the new residence hall is, I'm about 5'7", so I'm somewhat short. The new residence hall will sort of come up to right about here on me. They can go pretty high. So maybe a foot taller than some of our other beds in some of our residence halls. You're welcome. All right, I'm waiting for that next question. My daughter has a room in the new residence, but has not been able to tour a room. Can she do that at orientation? Yes, we provide tours of all the residence halls at orientation on orientation day. So we look forward to meeting you, and we'll be happy to show you the space. No problem. As folks are thinking of any other questions, one piece of tidbit for the folks on the call, whether you're an incoming student or if you're a parent, there's two things that I always recommend folks learn about before coming to college. One is how to do laundry. Every single year, it never fails. We always have at least one of our residents who comes out with their whites all pink because they don't know they can mix, or they can't mix colored clothes with white clothes. And then, or we have someone who doesn't know how much soap to put in the washing machine. And we flood our laundry room with soap suds. So it happens every single year. At least one student does one of those two things. And then the other thing that I recommend is please make sure folks know how to cook ramen, popcorn, Pop-Tarts in the microwave, because we often have people who don't know, or Easy Mac, that you have to put water in like ramen noodles or Easy Mac when you cook it in the microwave, and then it starts smoking and sets off the smoke detectors and then empties the whole building with fire alarms. And so you don't want to be that student at 2 o'clock in the morning who accidentally burnt your popcorn, your ramen, or your Easy Mac and had everybody at 2 o'clock in the morning leave the building for a fire alarm that was your fault. So we encourage everybody to practice those things before they get here. And then also that you can't put Pop-Tart packages in the microwave. Those are actually metal and they will ruin your microwave. So please, please, please practice those things before you get here. Teach your students how to do that before they get here. You'll do them a great service. Thanks for sharing, Jake. You're that person. We have a mixture of front load laundry and top load laundry. Every building has a combination.
And I don't think Scott mentioned this. Oh, sorry, Scott.
No, go ahead.
I don't think Scott mentioned it, but laundry is also already integrated into the cost of housing. So there's no additional cost to do laundry for all of our residential students on campus. So it's not like where some of us might have gone to college where we had to take a stack of quarters into the basement of the building and do laundry. At NKU, we've already integrated a lot of that cost into there. So there's nothing additional that you all have to provide. Just bring your soap, separate your colors, and have a good time.
And that's really a testament and shout out to our Residence Hall Association, which is RHA. Residence Hall Association is sort of like the student government of students who live on campus. They really advocated a few years ago that students were drying their clothes or washing their clothes and they weren't getting as dry as what they needed to. So they were finding, and mainly because they were overloading them, they were overloading the machines, and because they wanted to try and get everything in one load to save some money. And so they advocated for students just to have free laundry. So the laundry is free for students here, and they can do as many loads of laundry as they want. Any other questions? They say to pause for 7 seconds. You said we have 15 minutes to a 15-minute move-in window, but can parents stay longer? Oh, yeah, that's 15 minutes to unload your vehicle, which we will have about 5 volunteers to help you unload your vehicle. And so we will do it really quickly with you, but you can stay as long as you need. There is going to be a parents reception at the end of the day, starting at 5 o'clock. So from 5 to 6. We'd like to figuratively wine and dine you a little bit and introduce you to some of the staff who are going to be taking care of your students. So please mark your calendars for that. If you do end up staying a little bit a while, your students will go off to their first floor meetings, and then you all will be invited to a parent and family reception in the student union at that time. No problem. The 7-second wait before the next question. Give a little bit extra because it's Zoom. All right, well, if there are no other questions, we'll take the opportunity to sort of say thank you for joining us today. You all asked really great questions, and we're so thankful for them. You're welcome to reach out to us at any time. Tim and I's contact information is in the chat, so please take that down. Or if you reach out to us and maybe we're taking a little bit more time to respond because we're in meetings often, you can also reach out to housing@nku.edu, and I'm putting that in the chat. And our housing staff sort of at the front desk is really quick at responding to things and really wonderful. So if you are looking for a quick response, they're the best ones to reach out to. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for joining us.